Marian Beke is world-renowned bartender and founder of the Gibson, one of the London's most influential cocktail bars. After building his reputation in London's bar scene, he now based in Berlin, where he continues to develop new projects and ideas. His work is known for precision, innovation, and strong connection between concept and execution. Welcome in VisitChefTV, Marian.
Thank you.
You spent years building your reputation in London at the Gibson. What made you decide it was time for a change to move to Berlin?
Was not me deciding. We had a lease first of all. So our lease for the venue finished after 10 years. So there was a time when you need to either renew the lease or move on, And I was looking for a new place in London, but in the same time I actually get in connection with my old client from Berlin. They had some venues there, and as we start talking, we just got it was a good right timing. They just said we're looking for new venues and maybe new business partner to help us with our venues. I was looking for new space. Also, we got a child, so we're thinking, okay, maybe the London after 20 to 23 years, maybe it's good time to move. So it was few elements,
Yeah. So and how does your day-to-day work look now compared to London years?
Not much different. Even the city, people always asking me to compare. How is the Berlin compared to London? Two different cities, you cannot really compare,
Okay.
But Berlin itself is actually very metropolitan. It really resembles and reminds me London. When you go there, all our staff, our clients, it's a business, residential, super metropolitan, literally. Before Gibson, I was working in one of my partners' venues, Bellboy, 65 employees, one German, 64, all nationalities from all over the world. So it really reminds me of London, but without the hustle, So for family, actually, the city is much bigger, much wider compared to the population. So you got the greenery and this. So when it comes to family time, I can actually value it a bit more. When it comes to business, it's still very similar. The cocktails, drinking, people going out, business people. It's very similar to London.
Okay, so what are the biggest differences between London and Berlin bar scene right now?
Definitely one big difference is obviously the advantage of London is it's such a mega city. And the cocktail culture has been very well established there for many, many years. 1990s was already, all classics been reinvented, spaghetti bars. Berlin does not have that. Doesn't mean they don't have great bars. They do, but in a smaller number and is much, much younger scene, So, which is not a bad thing because also when you try to establish or reestablish your new business, London has many places, but it equally comes with the competition, So we open something amazing. Within next 5 meters from your doorstep, that can be another 5 great or greater bars. So the competition is pushing you, which is great, but also it's very tough. You really need to always invest, always need to be on the top.
And do you feel Berlin is catching up to London in terms of cocktail culture, or is it developing in completely different direction?
Both things, actually. Well, firstly, I haven't been living in Berlin so long, so it's our second year, so it's not that long. But Berlin is a very unique city, and people, which is not a city, is the people. They value Berlin for what it is. So they want their time, they want their greenery, they want their space, which is not a bad thing. When you're coming from London, you just emails rushing this, and then you come, and it's a big city. It's the capital of Germany, so it's not a joke. But the approach is different. That's no doubt, So people really, really like all the eco-friendly cycling, take the time, spend the summer next to the river or jump in a lake, which in London you would not see, So I don't think it's not the answer that is not catching up, but it's building its identity in every sense. Food as well, style of the cultural thing or art, and cocktails. Likewise, yes.
So what does Berlin do better than London when it comes to hospitality and nightlife?
One thing that is different, So I would not really say it's better or worse, but what is very different is the licensing, which is very unique. So London, sadly, running the licensing, especially in a center, which is most of the bars right now, because every year the licensing is pushed further and further in the outskirts. So the London has horrible licensing when it comes to nightlife. Really they cutting your hours, cutting the capacity, and so on, so on. So to operate bar, the Gibson used to. I remember I had old license. We were open until 2. Then we closed. New owners came. They were calling me. They were saying, "How was your license? We need to be not closed. We need to be out by 11. That means last order 10:30. 30 minutes cleaning. Everyone need to be out." I said 10:30. But if your guest going for the dinner, if they Google it, you're never gonna get this kind of posting. Berlin for this is much more relaxed. It's really a party city. Licensing is almost no existence. When we opened, they sent us license, and I was looking. But guys, we're missing hours. And they were like, "What do you mean you're missing hours? Where are the hours?" And they were like, "It's a bar, no?" "Yes." "But what time should I open, close?" "No, it's a bar, man. Should you open, close?" "But there are no hours, mate." "And what about the smoking?" "You can smoke, you don't have to smoke." So this is, I think, again, it doesn't need to be better, or worse. If you're smoking like we are not smoking bar, because maybe it's not nice,
Yeah.
But you still got these things like we close 4 a.m., and you can decide, and you got that freedom, yes, still.
And what current global bar trends do you find exciting? And which one do you think are overrated?
Look, I don't like to comment on many of these trends. I don't think it's my position, because the trends are something that is created maybe by bartenders or by industries, then people follow. So it's not necessarily bad thing or good thing. I like the trends that chefs create, because I've been always following chefs in the first place. I respect their job, and I think our job is very similar and close to chefs. Yet we still got gap to follow. The chefs, they cannot be messing around just to splash a joke at the counter. They are in the kitchens. The product speaks, and even chefs are now becoming more experiential, and this is something I like. So I think we at some bars, it's individual. Some bars we need to go back to hospitality, because they might have great cocktail program, but then everything else is flat, black and white, boring. And you're like, the drink is good, but I don't think I would come back, And then you can have on contrary, you can have a not okay drink, but everything else is amazing, and you spend the whole night. That's the beauty of bars. You can balance a beverage or the drink with many other aspects. So it depends. That's a beauty. That's a Jekyll and Hyde of our industry. You can focus on something, be great on it. The other things can be failing. So the trends are very tricky. I think it's more complex than just a trend. To say is clarification okay? No, it's not really. I can have a clarified cocktail on my menu. It's not gonna be issue because it's trendy. It's issue how it is executed and how is the whole package, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are we seeing a shift back towards simple drinks and clear flavors, or complexity still dominating?
Both. You can see both. I see some bars goes very complex and it works. I see some bars going super simple, still works. So it's also, I think it's bridging on a question you just asked. You could really see sometimes like, wow, look at this guy's crazy prep. You look at some bars, Sips in Barcelona, amazing, really executing it like 3 Michelin star. You see it and you're getting this fine and it's amazing. Then you're gonna have very classic bar opening across the road, also can be beautiful, and you as a guest got now this option very similarly to the food. It can be a street food doing a Michelin star level, but it's a street food, and then it's something super complex, So I think if it's executed well, it does not matter what it is, if it's a classic speakeasy bar, if it's super trendy, most technological lab feeling like, it's more about execution and doing well what you're doing.
How has the role of storytelling in cocktails changed in the last few years?
For us, it's big. Again, it's for something personal for me. I just had this seminar, which I think is really touching these things. So gastrophysics, neuromixology, I think that's what making memory and experience for the guest. Not just a gimmick to make the distinction in between. I don't think it's just a gimmick to say something that you really just made up for sake of saying a story, but really as a bartender, not just focusing on a drink. Okay, is it nice balance? Yes, fine. My job is done now. It's a beautiful drink. But to think of, okay, what's next? What's the table story? What can the floor staff, whoever it is, bartender, waiter, doesn't matter. Is there something we can grade? Is there something we can pull from the packet and shoot inside of the drink so they got a giggle, memory, fun, So yeah, but for me personally, it's a big thing. Yes.
When you create a cocktail today, what comes first, flavor, concept, or guest experience?
It depends. It depends. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, I would be able to answer what comes first, but it's not always the case, because sometimes we be searching something on internet or be going through a vintage market, you spot something and say, wow, this is amazing. I need to do, and maybe it was a vessel, but you can't ignore it. You're like, okay, I need to do a cocktail based on it. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's a name. You read in a book, this is amazing name, or this name will be a killer. And then you build the cocktail about it. So different channels, yes.
How do you think the relationship between bartending and gastronomy has evolved recently?
I think it's a beautiful thing. It's really evolving. You can see now 2-3 Michelin star, they're not doing anymore just wine. It's really... I think it's also showed the pedigree and the quality of the bartenders, that before the Michelin stars chefs, they would not be messing around. They would really don't allow bartenders to give them a pairing for the whole menu. It would be wine, which I find a little bit boring. Nothing against wine, it's beautiful, but really to see all these dishes, the restaurants from seafood to go complete vegan, execution, top level, and would always be just a wine. Of course, it's not just a wine, but it's a grape fermented, But seeing now non-alcoholic cocktails, alcoholic cocktails, sake cocktails, I think it's challenged the skills of the bartender, because you need to make some beverage that match the dish, So it's very challenging, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
And do you see that the bartenders today working closer to chefs than before?
Sure. 100%.
Yeah, you can feel it like that.
London for sure, Berlin, any kind of fine dining now. We've got bartenders, not that I've been, but we've got bartenders coming, where do you work? In this Michelin star, in these 2 Michelin star, what are you, cocktail bartender? So for sure, even if it's not necessarily paired, minimum a cocktail experience to start with or to finish. There is a cocktail design, if not to pair, at least people start, okay, this is a little welcome drink, this is a little cocktail before you start. So they're designing a cocktail experience prior the dining experience.
What role does texture and temperature play in your cocktail thinking today compares to the past?
Texture, temperature, like other elements, garnish, for me are same equal things like an ingredients. Okay, so when you say cocktail should be sweet, sour, bitter, texture is another flavor, smell is another flavor, color is another flavor. It's all flavors. Okay, so likewise, it's not that I got anything against clear drinks, but then you want a clear drink, okay? That's what you want, that specific drink. Would I like to have all the menu with a clear drink? No. Would I like to have one cocktail that is clear? Yes, because I want it purposely for this very cocktail. Another one I want black to evoke something. Another one I want, UV light, So purposely you build on this same as you're building flavors. Yeah.
And after all your experience, what still motivates you to stay behind the bar and build a new concept?
It's very simple. I just like it. If I stop liking it, I can't do it. I don't think you can do this job. That's if you think like, why are you coming to work today? Because of salary. I don't believe in it. In this industry, I'm not saying work for free. Don't get me wrong. But in this industry, it doesn't matter what age it is. If you like it, you enjoy it. You just come there and you enjoy it, the progress, the process.
Do you approach a new city differently now than when you started your career?
The cities itself? Yeah, you have to.
City, I mean, yeah.
You have to, yes. After we relocated to Berlin, you need to, not even the city, I would even say, even if it's the same city, but it's already changing the neighborhood, the clientele, you cannot just copy and paste. You need to understand who are my guests, who are my clients, let's see, or they like this thing. And you see, we try to relocate Gibson to Berlin, but we could not just copy and paste. The menu, I had to see what people like. Then I had to have a feedback from the floor staff. People actually asking for whiskey sours, twist on whiskey sours. I'm like, in London, people are not asking for whiskey sours, so we need to adjust. Okay, that's a normal thing. You need to see what your clientele is. That's your clientele, that's your guests. You need to adjust to it.
London people doesn't drink any whiskey sour?
No, it's not that they don't drink it, but it's not the classic by choice, which in Germany it's I don't know, like it might be. London is very specific because the choice is so much, so it's hard to say number one is espresso martini, but let's just call it espresso martini is number one. In Germany, the whole Germany is a Bisky Summer, it's really like easy cocktail by choice, so that's the first thing.
I understand. If you had to describe the current state of the global bar industry in one sentence, what would it be? What would it be?
Look, not sure it can be one sentence, but the global thing, firstly, improve a lot on global scales, which is amazing. You really see like, wow, you come to Bratislava, you come to small village in Spain, it's great, like everywhere you find cocktails, you find bartenders working as a career, and that's where the global things improving. On the other note, also the globalization played a role when everything became, thanks to the social media globalization, you find a very similar style from Hong Kong to New York, which is maybe not a good thing, or maybe for me, if I go to Hong Kong, I want to have local food, and maybe a local drink. When I go to New York and I see exactly same cocktails, just because they say the trend is espresso martini. Now, yesterday I was in Hong Kong, I had espresso martini. Now in New York, I'm also gonna, I know you find hamburger also in Hong Kong, don't get me wrong, but that's the things we just need to be aware, it's beautiful to go to Singapore and find pandan leaves, durian, it's beautiful, but it's also nice to go back to UK and they show you something local and these, and people work locally as well.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.
Marian Beke, founder of the Gibson bar, based in Berlin right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And take care.
Thank you.
That was another episode of the Visit Chef magazine podcast, featuring a conversation with Marian Beke, a world-renowned bartender and the founder of the Gibson, one of London's most influential cocktail bars. You can find all episodes in our archive at visitchef.com/podcast, as well as on all major podcast apps. Feel free to contact us, we'd love to hear from you. We'll be back with a new episode soon, and we're already looking forward to having you with us again.